Okay. Hello, welcome back. Expats in Germany. Today we're talking about illegal questions in job interview. As expats, we usually don't know our rights and we don't know what we deserve and what we have to do and what we don't have to do. It is very sad, but it's part of being an expat, right? You have to slowly learn what you have to do. Germans already know what they're allowed and not allowed to do, and yeah. So let's start. Let's start with number one. This is mostly for women, only for women. So pregnancy. Now let me preface first. So if you are applying for a job and you're in the process of job application and so on, basically if you're in a job interview, you don't really want to lie. Like, you don't want to give false information and you don't want to refuse to answer questions, because that may raise suspicion. Now, for these cases, you are allowed to lie in some of them. Some of them you have to say the truth, otherwise you may suffer the consequences. But in some cases, you're allowed to lie. You're allowed to say, like, the first issue is pregnancy, and you're allowed to say, no, I'm not pregnant, even though you know you are, if you are. And they cannot fire you because they found out you were pregnant after you lied about it, because it's okay to lie about it. So let's go into it. Pregnancy. Basically, I took all of this from a site and I will link it below. But this, whether you're pregnant or not, shouldn't really interest your employer. And if they ask you, you can just say no, even if it's yes, even if you're pregnant. There's one situation where you wouldn't need to lie about your pregnancy, is when the job that is being discussed, that you're applying to, has been tailored specifically towards your pregnancy, and then it's like, doesn't matter because it has been discussed previously. And the thing is, I know that women get shafted like this because, like, managers go like, we don't hire women, or we try to not hire women. They don't say it, but this is what they tell their teams, or this is how they think, because women get pregnant. And it's like, no, this isn't how this works. You're not allowed to do this. I mean, they're allowed to just not hire, but it's kind of stupid. Anyway, by the way, if these videos help you or interest you, please like and subscribe and comment below. It will help me grow my channel and reach more people who might find this useful. So number two is family status, like whether you're married, divorced, widowed, single, whatever. Like if you're 50-year-old and you're single, or you're 20-year-old and widowed, it doesn't interest anyone. It shouldn't. I mean, it does. Employers obviously want young 18-year-olds with 50 years of experience, no family to hold them back, super flexible, so that the next day, like tomorrow, you need to go to halfway across the country and work there. And it's like, yes, okay, let's do this. Yeah, so this is basis for discrimination, and in general, you are allowed to, like, say, I'm single and I have no strings attached. And even if it's not, they can go fuck themselves, basically. A lot of Germans will tell you not only about this, also about age and other things, that you have to write it in the CV, which I find ridiculous, because you don't have to. People do this. No one has to. This is like to minimize interaction, because when you actually sign a contract and they need your information, they need this information, like, are you married? Do you have kids? Where do you live? How old are you? And so on. But before they decide to hire you, this could lead to discrimination for whatever reason. Now, number three is belief and political orientation. This should also not really interest anyone, barring when you are applying for, like, a church job. Then your belief and, like, your religious stand and so on is relevant. And, like, in politics, I think parties and, like, which party you want to work for and so on. But most, if not, like, let's say more than 99% of jobs that you as an expat will apply for, it is vollkommen irrelevant, as they say, what your belief system is and what your political orientation is, because this is also a basis for discrimination. Like, I only want people who vote right, I only want people who vote left, I only want people who are a Christian of like Catholic or Protestant or whatever. This shouldn't interest anyone, and this shouldn't be the basis for decision. But sadly, it is. Like, it happens. Anyway, number 4, moving on. Disability. Disability is a hard subject. Basically, your disability shouldn't interest anyone unless your disability might interfere with your work. Like, I made up an extreme example. Like, you wouldn't take someone who's fully paralyzed to move boxes around in a warehouse, right? Like, common sense. But people with lighter disabilities and who want to work at like positions that they can fulfill are not obliged to disclose the fact that they are disabled. However, like the only situation where an employer can be like, we need to know about this disability is when they think, and there's a plausible reason to think this, that this will interfere with the job. But generally, it's like, it is your privacy, and it's your right to privacy to not answer this question or to answer it with a lie. Now, moving on, it's sort of similar but not quite. Sickness or illness. If you have a contagious disease or something that might endanger yourself or your colleagues or the company, you're actually obliged to report this and to notify your employer / potential employer, because this, like, you could be open to liability. Like, let's say they hire you to be a surgeon and you have epilepsy and you didn't tell anyone. If this comes as a surprise in the middle of like an operation, this could be very problematic for everyone involved. You could see how this, like, pretty self-explanatory, but most like illnesses and sicknesses and diseases are not you don't have to report them. Like, if you have cancer or diabetes or things that are not like, cannot harm anyone else, cannot hold you back from doing your job, and don't put anyone in danger, and cannot put like the company in any kind of illegal problematic situation, your privacy, your disease, your everything, it's completely fine. It doesn't, like, it's none of their business. Unless it is. And then they leave it up to you to decide if it's their business or not. It's kind of weird. This whole thing is a bit strange. Now, number 6. This is sort of weird, but previous experience and qualification. So here, you are not allowed to lie. You have to tell the truth, simply because they hire you based on your experience, right? In Germany, if you haven't checked my video about certificates yet, check it out down below or somewhere here on the screen. And there are certificates for everything, like when you finish a language course, when you finish university, when you finish high school, middle school, when you finish kindergarten, any course you do, any extracurriculum, whatever that you do, there is a certificate. And these you have to be able to prove that you did something, and it has to be truthful and so on. Like, or let's take a silly example. Like, if you say you're an architect and they hire you to design a building, but then you are not, and you make a building, and then the building collapses on 10,000 people and kills them. It's like, yeah, that is completely on you, and you will be prosecuted for that, because you lied on your resume and you lied in your interview when you said that you have a degree. This is mostly the case when you move from the first interview to the second interview. They ask for all your Zeugnisse, all your certificates about, like, show me that you finished high school, that you finished university, that you did this and that and here and there. This does not come to say that you shouldn't pad your resume. Like, you should sell yourself to the best of your ability. You should be able to, let's say, glorify your positions, but still, like, not to the point where you could endanger someone, or you are straight out lying by saying, like, yeah, I have this degree, or I am a surgeon, or when you're not. Like, this could really bite you in the ass after if you actually get hired to do something you're not qualified for, moral issue and so on. Like, Germans love to go, oh, it's immoral, whatever. Many things are immoral. But the main issue is you could be prosecuted for this, and it could cost you a lot of money. So, Now, don't lie about your certificates, okay? Be truthful at all times. whatever. Number 7. This is something I also don't quite fully comprehend, but asset relationship. Now, this only goes for management positions, so most of us, I think, will not have to worry about this, because going into management in Germany from the outside is pretty hard. Everything is a family company and this kind of shit. But basically, the rationale is like, if you're going into management and you're going to make decisions with money, they want to see that your own financial situation is stable and that you are financially responsible. They want to know about your real estate assets, stock market, and so on. And this, I don't know, it's very old-fashioned in my opinion. Like, oh, look, he's good with money, we should hire him as a manager. Like, whatever. Yeah, this less. Now, next point is wage garnishment. This is also very arbitrary in my opinion. Well, the opposite of arbitrary. They don't really say what the threshold is, but basically, if it's like foreclosure. If you owe money and someone is going through the legal procedure of getting the money out of you, if it's a small amount, you don't have to report it or like to make your employer or potential employer aware of this. But if it's a big amount that might cause you a lot of inconvenience and work and so on, then you have to. What is a big amount? What is a small amount? I'm not sure. They don't say. But I'm sure someone somewhere can find out. And which leads us to the next point, number 9, non-compete agreement. If you sign a non-compete agreement, now there are two types. I had to research a bit. One is like a legal one, and one is a contractual one. This is talking about the contractual non-compete agreement, which if you sign one, your potential employer needs to know about it, because this could lead to a lot of problems if they don't know about it. Like if you are, let's take the most probable example, which is automotive industry. If you work in the automotive industry for like, let's say BMW, and you sign a non-compete agreement, and then you want to change jobs, you want to jump ship, and you want to go to Mercedes. And so you have to tell them, like, guys, I have a non-compete agreement in this field. Like, it could be in development of combustion engine efficiency, but then you can work on a different part of the car, or maybe it's all of the cars and you have to change careers or stay at BMW. You need to consider each case individually, but this is something you need to know if you have a non-compete from a previous employer or like your current employer, but you want to jump ship, which is going to happen more and more in the future. Now, number 10, criminal record. This is a tough one. So basically, criminal record, you have the obligation to tell your potential employer about it if and only if it is relevant to your job. Like you want to be a taxi driver and you have like speeding tickets from now dating back 20 years, and you get one like every week, you have to tell your employer about it because it's relevant for your line of work. But if you are going to, apply as a, what did I have here? As a translator or a janitor, something like that doesn't drive anything, then it's kind of irrelevant. It's like even if you have like you've been tried for speeding, you don't have to say it. It's irrelevant for this position. There could be cases where you will be made to talk about these things in cases where after due process they find some sort of suspicion or like a justified suspicion. This whole video is a bit like contract language and stuff because it's very, you have to distinguish between the cases, right? So yeah, sometimes you will have to, if it's relevant to your job, you do have to. If it's not, you might. Imprisonment. If there's a threat of imprisonment on you, you have to tell your current employer, and you also have to tell someone you are applying to. That's it. Very, very simple. Now, number 12 is age. Age is really stupid. We all discriminate based on age. However, it is illegal in Germany in some way to discriminate based on age. However, if you ask Germans, what do I write in my personal information on the CV? They will tell you to write your birth date. the date of birth, when you were born. They will tell you that. But then this is irrelevant for the first interview. It's irrelevant, and they cannot, like, it's illegal to discriminate based on this. However, they can also ask you where you studied and when you finished your degree. Where did you finish your degree? How many years of experience do you have? And then from here to making the math, like doing the math and finding out how old you are, is pretty simple and fast. So it's kind of silly, but yeah, know your rights. And then questions about origin. Again, Germans will tell you over and over, and your CV will get rejected, as I said in my other video about a CV, if you don't have a picture on your CV. So they're not allowed to ask you about your origin, but you have to put like at least your last name, and you have to, they can ask you about your the languages you know, and then you can say you don't speak your mother tongue. I've been doing that for a while to sort of like make the fact that I come from a different country less obvious, or maybe change the impression of the country I come from. So yeah, this is basic. This like it. The intention was good, but the execution not so much. Yeah. So these are things that you have to look out for. As I say a lot, no one is going to tell you what your rights are. No one is going to tell you what you're allowed or not allowed to say. Well, a lot of people are going to tell you what you're not allowed to say, but your rights are for you to find out about. And yeah, I hope you like, subscribe, comment, let me know what you think. Hope this helps you. Rights are important, and they are abundant in Europe. And yeah, have a good one. Right? Bye.